Ryan had always believed that love could survive anything. Hardships, misunderstandings, even distance. After 8 years of marriage, he thought he and Emily had been through it all. They had fought, made up, laughed, cried, and built a life together. 2 beautiful children, a house that echoed with their laughter, and memories stacked higher than their wedding album. But nothing prepared him for the storm that was about to hit. It all started with her high school reunion. Emily had been unusually excited about it, talking about old friends, lost connections, and the nostalgia of her teenage years. Ryan didn't think much of it. Everyone enjoyed revisiting their past, and besides, she had always been the sentimental one. She came back that night glowing too much. In fact, it wasn't just the happiness of meeting old friends. There was something different in her eyes, something Ryan couldn't quite place. At first, he brushed it off. She started texting more, smiling at her phone in a way she hadn't in years. But then came the late nights, the sudden urge to go on work trips, and the unexplained absences. One evening, Ryan decided to surprise her by picking her up from a meeting she had mentioned. He drove to the restaurant she had named, but as he neared the place, his heart began to pound. There, through the dimly lit glass windows, Emily sat across from a man he didn't recognize at first. The way she looked at him, the way she laughed, the way her fingers lightly touched his wrist. These were things she hadn't done with Ryan in years. His breath caught in his throat. He felt like an outsider watching someone else's love story unfold. That night, Ryan didn't say anything. He pretended everything was normal, but his mind raced. The next few days were a blur, half-truths, forced smiles, his own silence suffocating him. But he needed to know for sure. So he checked her phone. The messages were there. The pictures. The words exchanged between her and an old classmate named Mark. "I can't stop thinking about you. That night was magical. I miss you." Each message was like a dagger to his chest. His hands trembled, but he kept reading. The texts told a story he never wanted to be part of. A story where he was the forgotten character, and another man had taken the lead role. He confronted her that night. Emily didn't deny it. She didn't even try to make excuses. She just stood there, staring at him, guilt swimming in her eyes. "I didn't mean for this to happen," she whispered. Ryan felt something inside him break. "You didn't mean to betray your husband, the father of your children." His voice cracked. Tears rolled down her face, but they didn't bring him any comfort. He had fought for this marriage, given it everything, and yet it had slipped away like sand through his fingers. That night, he slept on the couch, not because she asked him to, but because he couldn't bear to be near her. The next few weeks were the hardest of his life. He wanted to scream, to cry, to ask why, but he knew no answer would ever be enough. One day, as he watched his kids playing in the yard, he realized something. He could either let this pain consume him, or he could rise above it. He chose the latter. Walking away wasn't easy. Letting go of love, trust, and the years they had built together felt impossible. But staying in a broken marriage would have been worse. As he packed his things, Emily stood in the doorway, silent. They both knew it was over. Before leaving, he kissed his children's foreheads, whispered a promise that he would always be there for them, and walked away, not from his responsibility, but from a love that no longer existed. The days that followed were nothing short of torture. The empty house, the silence that once was filled with laughter, now echoed like a ghost of his past. The smell of her perfume still lingered in the sheets. The framed photos on the wall mocked him, frozen moments of a love that had died long before he had realized it. Ryan tried to distract himself. He buried himself in work, spent more time with the kids, and even ran to clear his mind. But no matter how fast he ran, the memories kept chasing him. One evening, he received a message from an unknown number. It was Mark. Asterisk, "I didn't want to cause trouble. I just fell in love with her. It wasn't planned." Asterisk. Ryan stared at the screen, anger bubbling inside him. His fingers hovered over the keyboard, ready to lash out, but then he stopped. What was the point? Would yelling at Mark change what had happened? Would it erase the betrayal, the sleepless nights, the broken vows? Instead of replying, Ryan deleted the message. A few weeks later, Emily asked to meet. For the sake of their children, he agreed. She looked different. Maybe it was guilt. Maybe it was regret. But the sparkle in her eyes had dimmed. "I'm sorry, Ryan. I never wanted to hurt you." "You did, though," he replied, his voice steady. "And you can't take it back." She sighed, looking down. I lost myself. I didn't know how to fix us." Ryan exhaled, the weight of months of pain pressing against his chest. "You could have talked to me. We could have fought for this together. But you made the choice alone." Tears welled up in her eyes, but Ryan had no more left to shed. "What now?" she whispered. He hesitated, then said, "We raise our kids the best we can. We respect each other as parents. But as for us, we're done." A single tear escaped her eye, but she nodded. "I understand." That was the day Ryan truly let go. Months passed. The pain lessened, though the scars remained. He focused on his kids, on rebuilding his life, and on finding happiness in places he had long forgotten existed. And one day, he realized he had done something he thought was impossible. He had moved on. What would you do if you were in Ryan's place? Would you forgive, or would you walk away? Let me know in the comments below. And if this story moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more gripping tales.